Here, Maryville head coach Derek Hunt as the Rebels 13-1 a year ago in the semifinals. Here, Maryville head coach Derek Hunt as the Rebels in the semifinals of the 6A state playoffs, 13-1 season. So, Coach, last year obviously going through undefeated and the season coming to end in the semifinals, not obviously what you were looking for, considering how well the regular season was. Looking back on that semifinal game, what jumped out to you maybe as the difference?
Well, I mean, I thought Oakland was the best team in the state. They'd been obviously the year before, returned a ton, so we kind of knew, felt one of the first times we probably felt like the underdog, as good as they were. But we were playing at home, so we thought we had a chance. And, man, I was just so proud of the effort our kids gave. Because they wore us out 2 years ago, down there at Oakland. It was ugly. And so, to close that gap, we wanted to give ourselves a chance to win in the second half. It was 14-14 at halftime. And I think 17-14 going into the fourth quarter, we had a chance to win. Right. Obviously wish we had a few calls back in that fourth quarter. Had the ball down 3 with a chance to go ahead and take the lead in the fourth quarter, and just didn't make it happen. We just didn't make those plays. But that group last year, phenomenal effort, phenomenal team. Certainly a championship caliber team that we had last year. We just ran into a team that was as good or a little bit better, and Oakland does a great job for sure. They had phenomenal players, running back, Oregon commit, and Miami receiver. They were loaded with talent, and so. But our kids fought, gave a great effort. They were gritty, and gave us a chance to win. And I was so proud of them. I mean, I know, obviously you'd love to win 15 games, but sometimes that's not going to happen, and that's life.
Right.
You've got to be satisfied with your best effort. If you give your best effort, and it just doesn't. Sometimes it's not always going to be a win, And I think our kids gave their best effort, and so I was just super proud of them. And what more can you do?
How much do you think about, say, at Oakland? Because similar to you, they're seemingly always there, right in the mix for a state title. In the NFL, we think about, all right, yeah, we want to win our division, but we know this team is always going to be in front of us. We got to figure out a way to be better than them or develop our roster to beat them. How much do you think about Oakland versus just worrying about what you can control during the regular season and then just sort of see how the chips may fall when you get to that point?
What's tough about focusing on Oakland is that we play so many big games in the regular season.
Sure.
I mean, you're playing the likes of Powell and Alcoa and Science Hill, and Bradley and Knox West. I mean,
right.
So we've got such a tough non-region schedule. Then in region, Farragut, played us to the wire last year in the playoffs. You got Science Hill, Bradley. So there's teams that if we don't focus on the here and now, we'll get beat. And so I'd hate to lose a game in the regular season because we're worried about what may or may not happen in the playoffs. So, Oakland's a different animal. They're just because how talented and physical they are, but also what they run offensively is hard to prepare for. Coach Creasy does a phenomenal job. I mean, really does. A ton of respect for the football coach that he is and his staff. But at the end of the day, we've got to take care of 1 week at a time. I know that's coach talk, but it's so true. Like we can't be 15-0 unless we're 1-0. And Heritage is our first opponent, and so that's where our mindset is right now. We've got to win that first game to get to the second one.
Let's talk about a couple of the kids you brought with you here to KFOA Media Days. We'll start with Cal Grubbs. Tell us what he means to you, and guy getting obviously a lot of college interest as well.
Yeah, Cal Grubbs right up there with one of my favorite kids I've ever had the opportunity to coach. Just obviously a phenomenal football player, a Liberty commit. Plays center for us. Has started there for 3 years. This will be his third year. But he is like a fan favorite in our school. Every teacher loves Cal. He is super respectful. Will go out of his way to help somebody. You'll see him all the time doing good deeds that no other kids do. In high school today, it's just we are super lucky to have him on our team, and he's a great football player. He's gritty, he's tough. He's a really good leader. And he is self-made. He wasn't a guy who showed up as a freshman. We're thinking, golly, this kid's going to be playing Division I football. I mean, he has worked his rear end off. he had a growth spurt there his sophomore year, and then next thing you know, he's getting some attention. So just golly, just phenomenal. And then you got Jason Maneker is the other one we brought. Jason plays kind of outside linebacker, defensive end for us. Plays with his hair on fire. You know, a rising senior. He's still 16 years old, rising senior. You know, so he's really young. Wish we had him for another year. But he is a edge rusher. I mean, can scream off that edge and get after the quarterback. Super intense. You know, what I love about Jason is he's very hard on himself, and that's what makes him so good. Like he expects to do things the right way, and he expects to continue to improve, wants to be coached, and you love guys like that. And I tell our guys all the time, if you don't want to be coached and want to improve, how can you expect to ever reach your full potential?
Right.
You know, and that goes for everything we do in life. So many of us in our society nowadays, we don't want to be critiqued. We don't want people to tell us, hey, here's how you could be better.
Right.
And I think the ones who are willing to open up and do that, be willing to be vulnerable a little bit, they're the ones who are doing great things and you know, making moves. So that's what I want our guys to do, and Jason embodies that so well.
You couldn't bring everyone that's getting interest on the college level. I know another guy that just made a decision was Noah Vaughn. Talk about him.
Yeah, phenomenal football player.
Yeah.
Golly, he makes calling plays a little bit easier on offense for sure. You know, Noah is super talented between the tackles. He can see it so well. He just needs a tiny crease and can make you pay. But he's also talented enough to split out at receiver, get the ball on the edge and the perimeter. He touches the ball in the special teams and the kicking game. You know, so he's a guy that's got to have the ball in his hands a lot in every game. And we'll lean on him this year more than we did last year.
And it's going to be crazy to look over to Alcoa's sideline and not see Coach Rankin. I mean, just with the history that those two schools have had, what can you say about Coach Rankin moving in and Coach Nix, who's obviously been a big part of their success, taking over the reins?
Yeah, well, Coach, it's going to be weird because Coach Rankin he's a staple in Tennessee high school football, let alone Alcoa high school football. I mean, I think Alcoa was obviously a top program in the state before he got there, and he took it to a whole nother level. Coach Nix has been a part of that for a long time, though, even before Coach Rankin got there, and he's going to do a phenomenal job and probably take it to another level. I mean, he has just talk about a guy with a lot of energy. I think kids love playing for him, and so he's going to do a phenomenal job. And obviously, we're good friends, and you know, I'm pulling for him. Except for one game a year, you know, I'm pulling for Coach Nix, and I hope he has a super successful career.
What else is important about this year's team for you guys to continue to have success and even progress even more than you did a year ago?
Well, I think this year, you know, we're replacing a lot of good players. You know, especially on the offensive side of the ball. Like, I mean, we had a receiver that signed at Liberty. You know, quarterback that's going to Furman. You know, so we're replacing a lot of talent. That 22 class was so talented, and a lot of great character, leadership that we lost. So we're replacing a lot of that. We'll have to potentially win games differently this year and try to figure out, you know, what's going to give our kids a chance to be the most successful on offense. You know, we return most of our defensive line. That's a good start. 2 or 3 guys on the offensive line, that helps. A running back, 2 running backs, that helps. But the skill positions, you know, there's about 6 or 8 guys who are battling for those spots. We need guys to step up and take that bull by the horn and run with it. And they will. You know, somebody will, but it's going to take probably maybe even into the season before that competition settles itself. So we've got a long way to go. I mean, there's no question about that. And there might be some bumps along the road early, but I think that this team has the character and grit to have a chance to be really good towards the end of the year, and hopefully can make another deep playoff run.
Awesome. Well, that's what we expect. Look forward to seeing you. Thanks, Coach Hunt.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much.
All right, that is Maryville head coach Derek Hunt.